in my personal view, I think Dillian Whyte should retire. And I don't say that lightly. And I'm sure there's going to be people screaming saying, how could you say Dillian Whyte should retire? He's improved massively over the past few years. I agree. He has improved massively over the past few years. This version of Dillian Whyte is better than the version of Dillian Whyte who fought AJ in every single way, except one. And that is punch resistance. Dillian Whyte's punch resistance has been deteriorating ever since that AJ fight. This is something that I've spoken about on numerous occasions in numerous videos over the past 18 months plus. His punch resistance in that AJ fight was tremendous compared to his punch resistance now. You go back and look at that fight, he was taking uppercuts, straight rights, all types of shots, and remained upright and was able to fight back up until he finally caved in the 7th round. And even in that 7th round, he was hit with a big right hand first and stayed on his feet before AJ followed up and eventually got him with that uppercut. So yeah, Dillian Whyte's punch resistance was never the same since that first knockout defeat to AJ. And it's been going downhill since, because he's been in fights like the first Chisora fight, for example, where he took a lot of punishment. The Joseph Parker fight, of course, he was dropped and hurt in that fight. He was dropped against Oscar Rivas. He was hurt against Robert Helenius. He was hurt against Marius Wack. And obviously, the most recent knockout defeat prior to Tyson Fury was Alexander Povetkin. And I said after the Povetkin fight, I mentioned all this deterioration in Dillian Whyte's punch resistance. And I said, I wonder how his punch resistance will be affected by this Povetkin defeat, whether it's going to be even worse now. And we didn't get the answer in the Povetkin rematch, because there was people saying, told you so, told you Dillian Whyte would be fine. Yeah, he was fine psychologically. And I wasn't saying that he wouldn't be fine. I was just pointing out the fact that over the years, loads of fighters who suffer knockout defeats have psychological issues. They have demons, basically, after those knockout defeats. And they're unsure of themselves. They go in the ring with a serious lack of confidence. They're scared to get hit. They're gun shy. With Dillian Whyte, that wasn't the case. Very mentally strong guy. But when it comes to punch resistance, it seems to be a neurological thing as much as a psychological thing. It's psychological to some degree. But when you've suffered knockout defeats, there's something that goes on with the neurology that can be affected, and that can take it out of your hands from a psychological point of view and just make you more susceptible to getting knocked out in future. It can diminish your punch resistance further. Now, I can't say for sure whether Whyte's punch resistance was diminished further from the Povetkin the first Povetkin fight. We never found out in the Povetkin rematch because he didn't get hit by Povetkin in the rematch, right? But we found out in the Tyson Fury fight that Dillian Whyte's punch resistance certainly hasn't improved, has it, since the first Povetkin fight? He got hit with an uppercut, which, as I say, back in the days, he probably would have taken and stayed on his feet. That this version of Dillian Whyte, as much as he's improved in every other area, he's stronger now than when he fought AJ. He's technically better than when he fought AJ. He's better conditioned than when he fought AJ. He's, injury-free, unlike the version who fought AJ, who had a shoulder injury. He's better in every way, more experienced, etc. Better in every way. But that punch resistance is not better. And I can only imagine that this knockout defeat to Fury is going to even further damage his punch resistance. So you've got a guy in Dillian Whyte who is 34 years of age, 33, 34. He's had a tough career, been in a lot of tough fights, been knocked out badly 3 times now. It's not going to get any better in terms of his punch resistance. And because he's a guy who's relatively easy to hit, guys are going to be absolutely chomping at the bit to fight Dillian Whyte. Young prospects coming up. There's the danger that Dillian Whyte gets used as an opponent. So I hope he's been paid exactly what he's owed for the Tyson Fury fight. I hope he doesn't have loads of debts and stuff like that. If he is to continue, there's only one fight that I think would be reasonable for Dillian Whyte to take at this stage. And I'm talking about in terms of names. There's only one fight, and that would be Derek Chisora for a trilogy. That's it, because Chisora's punch resistance has been deteriorating as well, if the Joseph Parker fight is anything to go by. So, okay, cool. Let's see Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora 3. Maybe they can make a whole heap of money together in that one. And then after that, God willing, Dillian Whyte sails off into the sunset so he doesn't end up like another Danny Williams. Because that's the danger of Dillian Whyte continuing, in my view, is he ends up just like Danny Williams, another guy from Brixton, right, who had a world title shot and lost badly like Dillian Whyte did. Now Danny Williams is like the poster child for sad stories in boxing. Let's hope Dillian Whyte don't end up that way. I think he should just retire. And look, he's a very, very good boxing mind. He manages a stable of fighters, Fabio Wardley, Babich, etc. I think he should concentrate on that, on the business side of things, maybe be a pundit or something. Now, it's going to be difficult for Dillian Whyte to do that because he's a very proud man, because he's an overachiever. Truth be told, this is a guy who didn't have not only the amateur background of an AJ, a Fury, etc., but he also doesn't have the athleticism. He doesn't have the natural talent of those guys. So for a guy like him to make it, you have to have unbelievable, incredible self-belief. Incredible. And that self-belief, the level that Dillian Whyte has, makes you very, very stubborn. It makes you not want to listen to people. Because why should you? They writ you off from the beginning, right? They said you were no good from the beginning. You didn't have the amateur background. You don't have the athleticism. You don't have the coordination. All these guys that you're trying to compete against are clearly more naturally talented than you. So people write you off. But then you start proving people wrong and you beat all these guys with better amateur backgrounds like Joseph Parker and what have you. You beat Derek Chisora twice. You beat Lucas Brown. You beat Oscar Rivas and all these other guys. Povetkin, of course, in the rematch. And you start believing in yourself even more than you initially did. But time waits for no man. And although Dillian Whyte is not that old in heavyweight terms, in actual terms, I think he's probably older than that because of, again, that punch resistance, the punishment this guy's taken. And it's not just the punishment in the ring. It's the punishment in training camps. Because if Dillian Whyte has been hurt this many, we know he's been hurt this many times in pro fights. How many times has he been hurt, down, potentially knocked out in sparring? Dillian Whyte, by all accounts, is a guy who likes to spar hard. He likes to go hell for leather in sparring. This is not a guy who likes to hold back and do little technical stuff. He likes to go hell for leather. And when you're doing that, I mean, you're going to catch some big shots. So the punishment he's taken in sparring, the punishment he's taken in fights, even though he's improved in many ways, I don't think it's a good idea for a guy who's relatively easy to hit like he is to carry on with diminishing punch resistance in the heavyweight division of all divisions. I mean, we worry about Amir Khan carrying on. He's a welterweight. In the heavyweight division, it's even more precarious if you've got punch resistance issues. And you might point to people like Vladimir Klitschko or even AJ himself and say, well, they didn't have great punch resistance and they continued in boxing and they continued to have success, etc. Yeah, but they are much more naturally gifted than Dillian Whyte. Therefore, they don't get hit as much as Dillian Whyte. That's the difference. They've got the height, the reach, the athleticism, the balance, etc. to be able to stay away from shots. Dillian Whyte doesn't have that luxury. So that's my take on it. Give me your take in the comment section below. If you think Dillian Whyte should continue, state your case. And please don't repeat things I've already said, because I've acknowledged that he's improved in every single way, other than one. But that one way, especially in the heavyweight division, is crucial. That's why I think. Let me know what you think. If you're tired of the biased narratives and mass censorship on mainstream platforms, and you want to be part of a community of critical thinkers who love free speech just as much as you do, then come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide variety of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&As, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got an Element group where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. Unlike Discord, it has full end-to-end encryption, is decentralized, and is 100% censorship free. You can also send voice notes as well as much larger audio and video files than you can on Discord. So come and sign up on Patreon. There's no contract, there's no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll see you over there. I'm out.